Welcome to How to Find More Direct Clients Than You Can Poke a Stick At podcast, a mix of both solo episodes and expert interviews. Our ideal listener is an early career, ambitious, and passionate online language services provider. She is committed to professional growth and achieving success in the fiercely competitive translation and interpreting industry. She balances multiple responsibilities with resourcefulness, values mentorship, is open to learning, and investing in her professional development journey. She embraces technology and seeks to optimize workflow, eager to connect with like-minded peers and build out her professional network. She is determined to overcome challenges and become a sought-after freelance translator. And here's your host, medical translator and translator business mentor, Jason Willis-Lee.
Kerstin Cable is a learning designer, implementer, and creative problem solver who helps educators, founders, and fast-moving business owners protect their creative energy by finishing what they start. With over a decade of online business experience, she's built courses, memberships, books, conferences, and podcasts, and knows how to turn half-finished projects into polished, ready-to-launch successes. A published writer in The Guardian and host of more than 240 episodes of the Fluent Show podcast, Kirsten is also co-founder of AI Language Club, where language learners explore AI tools creatively. And welcome to another episode of Freelancer Training on How to Find More Direct Clients, a podcast hosted by me, Jason Willis-Lee. This is the show that makes digital marketing easier and more fun using the perfect combo and just the right dose of business strategy and tech. I'm your host, Jason Willis-Lee, digital marketing enthusiast extraordinaire. And today I'm very thrilled to welcome a friend and a colleague who is Kerstin Cable. Kirsten brings a unique perspective to our discussion. Kirsten, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Hello. I'm doing well. Thank you very much, Jason. Nice to be here.
Thank you so much for tuning in from Canterbury, where I know you are. Can you just, to break the ice, tell us a little bit about your personal and business journey and what's your unique vision for the future of our industry? Because you and I have the same industry. What's your unique vision for the next,
We do and we
3 to 5?
don't.
Well,
Yeah, we do
yeah.
and we don't, do we? Because if I'm going right back, I've actually done a master's in translation studies, and then I translated independently for about 7 months when I was sort of 22. And then I just went and found a job because it wasn't quite right for me. So I've since realized that the personality, that type that I have, and the kind of mind that I have, and the way I have social skills, and I'm very extroverted, would have been much better to become an interpreter. But they didn't have interpreting studies; they just had translations. So
It's not too late. You could do that now. Why don't you do that now? You're still young. It's not too late.
Why not? Why not? Yeah, I need another job on top of my other 12. But so it's for a while I worked as an international officer in universities. So I did international recruitment, which was amazing because it's lots and lots of travel, and that's what I wanted at the time. And then I had a sort of enforced crisis of everything in my life, but it was kind of when I turned 30, so weird. But I then started Fluent Language, and Fluent Language tuition, as it was called then, was me going, oh my God, what am I going to do in self-employment? Why not teach German? So my first direct clients were all German learners, were all from all around the world. I lived in Lancaster at the time, which is in northwest England. It's not a big city. In Lancaster, you realize very quickly that you're not going to make a living off of private German lessons. And I didn't want to teach English. I don't know, I was a bit contrary, I guess. And my native language is German. So I felt like I'm a rep for German. And that's how I got started in my own sort of online business. I really quickly started Skype tutoring, like RIP Skype. This year it's over, but in 2012 Skype tutoring was the thing. And then just kind of always went where my interests take me, which means I have run language learning memberships for online teachers. I've made probably something like 12 online courses of various like very large ones and tiny little digital products. I've run retreats for German learners. And in recent years, I've gone a little bit more towards coaching and mentoring, which kind of classically with a lot of experience, people ask us for more advice. So it's an area that often you end up going into. And I love anything to do with productivity and kind of being organized. So I help people with that, but I
Mhm.
still run my language learning site on the side, and especially something called AI Language Club. So I'm still interested in languages, but I'm not an interpreter or translator. I'm I'm sort of a teacher, but I stopped teaching the language a long time ago because I just got so interested in how people learn the language. So I spent a lot of time looking at learning science
Mm.
and best learning methods, and a lot of what I've created is in that field.
Well, I love this because I translate professionally from French and Spanish, medicine, as you know, so medical translation now pivoting into linguistic validation, LV. I'm a German speaker, but I'm B2, so not professional enough to
Mm.
translate from it, but I do like it and I use Duolingo. So, I
Mhm.
use some AI tool. Let's talk about AI Language Club and using AI as a tool to learn languages. So I'd like to sort of hone in on three ideas. One
Mhm.
is the idea, this concept that AI is a tool, not our competitor. I'd like to get that because some people still, when I'm talking to people, are sort of, AI is taking my work. And I'm saying, don't try and compete with AI. Use it as a productivity tool, just as you were talking about productivity. How to master AI as a way to future-proof our careers, and how we don't have to compromise integrity by efficiency. So if we use AI ethically, it
Yeah.
doesn't mean we're saying goodbye to quality or being authentic. So I'd like to just talk about those three
Mhm.
ideas. Working smarter, not harder. I love productivity as well. I'm all about making, making the biggest bang from my buck or my effort and, squeezing every single. One of my mentors used to say, squeeze more juice from or get more juice from the squeeze. That's what he used to say. Get more juice from the squeeze. Get more business juice from the squeeze.
Mhm.
That mentor is Chris Ducker. He's one of the online business mentors. So just can we talk about that in a little bit in terms of learning languages, which is the whole point of AI Language Club. I know it's a little membership you
Yeah.
have going. How do we see AI as a productivity tool, not a competitor, first of all? How do we do that?
Oh, this is very interesting. If we're talking about language learning in particular, like you're coming from the point of view really of somebody who works professionally, where AI is the sort of this is I think most people look at AI in this way, at AI tools, and when I'm saying AI, like generative GPTs, basically,
Yeah.
you know. So and we're looking at them from this point of view of, oh, it can do something. It can research something, compose a text, analyze a text for me way faster than I could do it by myself. And this is an efficient way of working. So we're looking at it as that tool. When you're a language learner, you've got a little bit of extra sparkle on that. And that is all about GPTs and large language models give you access to a previously practically inaccessible cache resource of natural language in your target language,
Mm.
natural language usage, right? They are trained on natural language usage. They're trained on language learning norms. They have got an incredible breadth and understanding in terms of thinking flexibly, sideways, understanding you when you can't quite express yourself, and all that stuff that we as language learners actually need support with, and that no Duolingo is going to give you. You
Hmm.
know, like and they in that way, ever since I've started experimenting with AI as a language learning tool, it's just consistently blown me away in terms of things that it can do
Mm.
and in terms of ideas that we have. So AI Language Club came up because Josh Goldsmith from Tech Forward, who's my co what is he co-founder? we run AI Language Club together.
Correct.
He and I were just going to do this workshop about like, oh, how to use AI for language learning. And when we were starting to think about content, I pretty much said to him, like, Josh, this is too much. Like, this is not a workshop. We've got a membership's worth of ideas here. That
Mm,
was like 2 years ago. And we have not run out of ideas since. We have experimented so much. We've seen so much of how it all develops. And for me, there is always a question of like coming at it from a teacher's perspective. So a lot of teachers are in AI Language Club as well. I think for the ideas and the experiments. And because I think like a teacher, it makes me so happy. It's always, what is the learner benefit? Like, how do I challenge a learner to use to access this amazing box of language trained materials?
hmm
It can explain grammar to you in the most simplest terms that maybe something you didn't really get, like German word order, is hard, or separable verbs maybe, and you just go, what? Like I didn't quite get that. And mutations for me as a Welsh learner, I know that's one, I don't stumble over anymore, but at first I was like, what? So to have the ability to go to somewhere and say, hey, can you just explain that to me again? And then give me some example sentences. Amazing. To be able to say, can you analyze this text and find me the words that express joy or that express emotions, which
hmm
then increases your own range of being able to express yourself. To be able to say, to be able to just simulate a conversation, but the corrections are kind of held back and you're not being watched, which makes a lot of language learners very uncomfortable. To be able to get pronunciation aid by searching and analyzing YouTube videos. There is so much potential. There are so many incredible ideas. I've literally not even scratched the surface of what we've played with. It's, to me as a language teacher, really, I come from a teaching perspective here.
mm.
It's just so incredibly exciting. So AI, not just about the efficiency for a language learner, it's also about like everything your textbook knows, this knows because it's probably eaten 12,000 textbooks.
So let's zoom in on a couple of things you mentioned there. One is you mentioned ChatGPT as a large language model. It could also be Claude, Perplexity, Gemini, just to confirm
Absolutely.
that for our
Absolutely. Yeah,
audience.
yeah.
And number
Yeah.
two, the one of the disadvantages I've seen about Duolingo is it only goes so far. I think it goes to a B1. If you're looking for a B2, C1,
At best,
C2,
yeah.
it really is not good enough. So give me a couple of specific examples, give our audience a couple of specific examples of how I can use AI to improve my German beyond
Mhm.
a low B2. I'm a sort of high B1, low B2 person,
Yeah.
school leaving, A level, type level. How would I use AI? Is it just prompting in the way you said, give me all the words for joy, all the words and synonyms for joy or sadness, or, explain the dative case to me, very simple, simple example, explain the case. There's the genitive, the accusative, the dative. This is one of the complications of German grammar. I'm sure Russian is more complicated, but that's, you've got to get your head around lots of cases. Just give us a couple of snippets of how AI specifically can be used for language.
Yeah.
German as an example, because I'm a German learner.
I would start actually by thinking about what your goal is, and sort of what you are interested in. So whether you might want to improve your pronunciation, whether you might want to prepare for a specific type of conversation or a specific kind of situation, whether you just want to practice and have some fun. Yeah, if you tell me some of that, then I can throw some ideas your way. I'm just gonna
Yeah,
pull up my database and then I'll have more ideas for you than I can even remember off the
yeah,
top of my head.
absolutely. Phonetics is one thing. I mean, what would take me? I mean, I think I'm at the point I find Duolingo a bit too easy, to be honest,
Mm.
and I
Yeah.
do it just to keep because it's all I've got at the moment. Unless I go to the Goethe and get into a course. I did a B1 course and I got through that. So now I
Yeah,
find the
don't do
B,
that.
yeah,
It's not
exactly.
so much fun, is
I
it?
would love to go to Munich and live 6 months as a carefree German learner, but I can't do that because I have too many other things in my life. I have two kids, I have a wife. I can't just
Yeah.
take off for 6 months and just go and, I should have done that when I was 18. So I'm now encouraging my soon to be 18-year-old next month to do a gap year because I sorely regret not going to live in Berlin for a year when I was 18, doing anything, washing dishes, waiting tables, just to perfect, I would have presumably a much better German now as I'm about to turn 50. Um, well, let's talk about more generally about mastering AI because I know you are very
Yeah.
pro AI for language learning as a way to future-proof. I mean, I'm all about helping people get into other niches. I mean, I'm getting less medical translation. I'm still doing quite a bit of editing,
Yeah.
and helping people place their research in journals, which is sort of pseudo consultancy, come editing. How do we really get a handle on using AI to show adaptability and leadership in an ever-changing landscape? Because it's changing all the time, right? So we want to
Yes.
stay ahead of the curve and signal to our clients and employers, clients, I guess, that we are resourceful, efficient, and growth oriented. What's the key to mastering AI as a future-proofing tactic?
Yes. Before I answer your question, what's the key to mastering AI? I wanted to give you a little tip that might help you with your German.
Please do.
So
Please.
if you, the easiest way is to just come join the club, join us for a month and have a look through the full tutorial because then you've got a demo.
Yep.
But it's $9 a month, so I'm not like it's not a big sell. And we're about to do a summer challenge, so it's actually half price first month.
Okay.
But it's called the YouTube Quiz Show, and we've got one called the Reading Quiz Show. And this is all about your reading comprehension, and then when we're using YouTube, your listening comprehension, and we're working with AI. Sometimes we create transcripts, and sometimes so we've got something called the extractor, which is all about extracting from transcripts. But often you can just use the YouTube generated transcripts and then you link into YouTube. You can do this with Gemini. You can do this with Copilot. Josh is our Copilot whiz. He's just done a great challenge about it. So you link into that and you build yourself essentially a comprehension quiz using AI based on that. So when you say, "Oh, I'd love to like go to Munich and so, kind of have the interaction experience life,"
Mm,
you could do something like grab an easy German video, which you've probably seen. So easy German, German learn the language from the streets. They do a lot of Vox Pop street type interviews. And you could kind of then start, okay, writing your own opinions, writing your own questions or answers to the questions that are asked in the video. So, like I said, I want my learners to work. Like, I don't want you to just hand it over to AI.
yes.
But then the second step, I would say, would be to use something like the YouTube quiz show, which is all about asking clever questions and prompting AI in interesting ways so that it basically builds you a reading comprehension quiz. It says like,
Mm,
oh, ask me questions about what people are being asked. Oh, I want to dig more into what this person is saying. What's the cultural context here? What are we missing? What's the TV show they're referring to, etc. So you're using it almost like we might use a session with a tutor, sort of that person being your comprehension assistant throughout the video. And you really dig into it so that then when you watch it again, you've got the cultural context, you've got the depth, you understand what people are saying. And once you understand, that's the key to being able to replicate it. And then your German will that's the difference really for me between like a sort of B2 whatever level and a C level. You don't need
hmm.
more grammar at your level. You need the cultural context and the
Yes.
faster
Yeah.
comprehension.
Yeah. That sounds fantastic. I mean, that sounds the YouTube quiz show and the reading quiz show, I think you said,
Yeah. Yeah.
are both
It's
absolutely.
it's the same, roughly similar prompts, but we demonstrate them with video and with, text. So you've got
Mm.
something to choose from.
So where
So
do you
you can
think?
also do this with newspaper articles, etc.
Sure, which is the big thing missing from Duolingo. I mean, is it possible, do you think, to create an app? I'm just thinking ahead entrepreneurially. Is it possible for one of us to create an app that would take people from a B2 to a C2, so from a B1 to a B2 or a B2 to a C level? Is that possible? Or would you need the physical, the newspapers, the videos, and what kind of, in terms of app development, is that possible? Is that where
Uh, what
could
I
we
would
get something
say
more advanced than Duolingo, which is a little basic for
Yes. The
yeah.
reason for Duolingo being that level that it is
Mm,
not that Duolingo can't, it's just market demand. It's
yeah.
just so
The
for
mass market is
example,
B2 or below.
exactly. Like
Yeah,
most
sure.
learners don't go beyond level B, whatever.
Correct.
So most materials are not designed for those levels.
Yeah,
That's
that's
the main reason. So 100% it would be possible.
yeah.
I like what Stover Learning are doing because when they develop their German courses or their language courses in general, they tend to try and provide the intermediate and advanced levels too. So there's a course called German Uncovered that I've done. I did their German Uncovered beginners,
What's
but
the name
now
of the
they've
company?
got
Dover Learning?
Story learning.
Story learning, excuse me.
Story
Story
learning,
learning.
yeah.
Yeah.
They are they're really cool courses.
Yes.
So I always recommend them. And like I said, I've done their beginners course. Like I created it, um, and that takes you from zero to roughly A2. But they've got an intermediate and advanced course as well. And you can
Mm,
do stuff with Glossica. The thing about language learning and the thing about language as a field, and particularly language acquisition, is that we in this field, in my opinion, are more ready for AI than so many other fields because we already really deeply understand and work with language. So earlier when you were asking like what's the key to mastering AI to looking good to a client,
yeah.
I think it's not even necessarily explaining, just demonstrating and coming in with the confidence, and don't be scared of the AI tool. That's like the first step. Like you cannot stop your client from using this. They want to, if they want to try it, they're going to try it. If they think they can get something cheaper and faster, they will, right? We know this. But you coming in and like just embodying the expert user and explaining how your linguistic expertise is what's going to give you the edge as the AI user and the provider of whatever it is you're providing, saying, I'm going to catch those hallucinations, I'm going to catch those errors.
Mm,
The product is going to be amazing, but faster, right? That is, to me, is where I would come from because that is where the truth really is with us as like language professionals have an edge because what we call AI now, like ChatGPT, Copilot, all those,
hmm.
they are language models. They're all about language.
Yeah. Do you think one of the advantages of the human translator is that we don't hallucinate? I mean, that's obviously a big, the LLM literally makes it up on the fly. We can't do that. You and I, when we're in the bunker, at war with the text, we can't make it up. We can't just invent something. We have to look it up and research it and document it and maybe do an author query. That's got to be one of the biggest advantages of the human over the LLM, right?
Yes, it's similar to fact checking, for example, as well, where you can use the AI to alert you to lots of issues and questions, but ultimately it takes that person who knows exactly what is meant and required in that moment to look at it and just say, okay, yes, that's correct or not correct. So I can't speak to translation. I'd be a hypocrite if I did, Jason. I'd be like, because like my last translation is a long time ago, and I didn't score that highly on it. It's just not my happy place. But I think I think yes, like it's just to me, if you're a client where your translation matters at this stage, my gut feeling would be to say it's a little bit irresponsible to just use something from AI and not have a human eye over it.
Mm, sure. So that brings us to ethical use of AI as AI supervision. Could you give us a tip? I mean, it is just a question of casting a human eye over the AI
Mm,
text. It's not just passing off the AI text, just saying it's done and dusted. Could you give
mm.
us I mean, is there anything beyond that? Could you give us an extra tip that means we don't sacrifice quality for a medical translation or a legal translation, those, niche fields, or
Mm,
authenticity, because that's what we want. We
yeah,
want to stay authentic. How do we work smarter, not harder? So leverage the thing as a tool,
yeah.
but not lose quality authenticity. What's the best practice for the AI supervision?
What I would say is asking if you're going to use AI for your research, which would be really great way of like developing your glossaries, your vocab fields, and all that kind of stuff. I would probably, because it matters for a professional context, ask for sources. or verification for a few expression, especially like expressions where I'm thinking in the legal world where you really have to get the wording exactly right. And if you're referring to a certain law, you can't just make up what it's called in your target language. So I would not only ask it to cite the sources, but you've got to check the sources because the amount of times you like ChatGPT will very confidently say, yeah, and of course you could find this at like this word means this.com, and you click on it and you realize this is a dead page and it's just invented this. Like I've had friends who've built custom GPTs for themselves and to support their students in their online courses, and the GPTs, if you leave them too much free rein, if you don't ask for something very, very specific, they will very quickly try to be overly helpful, but they were inventing lessons that didn't exist in the courses, etc. So if it matters, ask for sources and check the sources. Don't just, don't just accept the answers. It's nowhere near good enough at this point.
Let's go into a few quick fire questions, Kirsten. Just
Ooh.
give me sort of one answer, the first answer that comes into your springs to mind. What is one AI learning tip, AI language learning tip you abide by daily? What is something in your routine with your prompting, and what is something that's part of your DNA now that you do daily on a routine basis?
Asking for the output in a table format.
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
asking for the
That's
output in a table format because I'm very much a visual thinker. As well. So I will tend to ask for in a table format with maybe a column for one language, a column for the other, a column with examples. And then something I'm really excited about is when I do our summer challenge, I'll do it live. I might also ask for like an associative image or something like a sounds like for the memory bridging, or an etymological kind of hint of like, does this have a cognate in Spanish or German or French, etc. So that it just really helps me memorize the words. So with my target language, I don't learn this professionally. I learn this just out of joy and passion. But I'm learning Welsh, so my level in Welsh is roughly B2. And with some Welsh words, you don't first see the connection to one of the other European languages because it's Celtic. But when
hmm
you really look deeply, you kind of go, okay, yes, no, I can see it. So the Welsh word for playing is chwara, which when you really look at it, looks a little bit like jouer. So
Mm.
actually the link is there, but it's kind of it's a bit obscure. It's like when you learn German, there are so many cognates, but they're just a bit obscure. You really have to have an eye for it. And I'm really excited that how much AI knows about etymology. So it's really exciting.
What's the best business advice you've ever received, Kirsten? From a mentor, from a student, maybe? Best business advice you've received and applied to
Is that
yourself?
it's actually a question. The best sort of advice is a question. This is from I think I was still in full-time work and I did this summer class, this summer kind of, like universities sometimes do like a summer school for
Mm,
it's basically a lot of like pensioners for two
correct.
weeks.
Yes.
And my partner and I did one once. He did photography and I did travel writing. And
Love
someone
it.
said someone in the course said, "Oh, what if I have a great idea and then somebody else already like has stolen my idea? What if somebody uses this idea that I've already had?" And the question that this person got back in response, I've never forgotten, it was, "Well, is that the last good idea you're ever going to have?" And
Mm,
the answer is always no. Like, it's never the last good idea. So, in business, this has helped me be quite chilled about, some people really are like I'm not that territorial with ideas, but also I'm not worried if somebody comes out with something that is an idea that I have also had. I don't have the ownership over ideas. I know that it's not about ideas, it's about execution.
correct.
That is something that you really, really learn in business, and
Mm.
it served me really, really well. So, a question that you just hold on to, and it just keeps you, I think, in the right headspace is that the last good idea you're ever going to have? It's not. You've got plenty of good ideas in you.
That's really great. Using just one word, Kirsten, how would you describe AI? When I say AI, what's the first word that comes to mind?
Speedy.
Mm, okay. Okay. And the worst investment you ever made? What's the worst investment you ever made? Either in yourself or a financial investment? What's one to avoid?
Something I'm still annoyed with myself about
Mm-hmm.
is when you're a sort of language learning expert, a lot of people will contact you and say, "Hey, can you look at my app, or can you give me feedback on my app or my language learning website?" And you really have to be careful because they never pay you. They always take your considerate feedback. And once, when I'm sure it was like only 1 year or 2 years into it, for some reason, I thought it would be a good idea. I would get a great partnership, some sort of benefit that wasn't spelled out.
Yes.
um I'm sure I would get paid because this would be polite thing to do. So stupid. And I went all the way, like halfway across the country to London to meet this sort of startup company, and look at their product and give them feedback in person. So I
Wow.
paid to go there, spent the whole day like in London. Was
Yes.
like, oh yeah, I'm a real businesswoman here. Went home, never heard from them again.
The terms and conditions were not clear beforehand.
No, I never, well, I never asked for anything. I just,
You
I
assumed.
don't know. I literally, I didn't even assume I would get paid. I just assumed magic would happen. I don't know. Like, so just like, I don't know, think. Like, not, don't assume people are nice.
I think
People
we've
don't have
all,
to be nice. It's not their job to be nice.
yeah, I'm sure I've had a similar situation. I think many of us have had that situation.
I've barely
Um,
told this to anyone because it's so dumb.
well, it's honest as well. It's very authentic, I think, which is where we're trying to excel, isn't it?
Mm.
Final quick fire question, Kirsten. What book are you reading now? What was the last book you completed that we can get a recommendation out to for people to read?
The last book I completed, pretty much completed. I kind of skimmed the last sort of chapter, as you do with nonfiction, right? Um,
Sure.
Tiny Experiments. I've just read that.
Tiny
And
experiments.
Tiny
Okay.
Experiments by Anne-Laure Le Cunff, her name is.
Okay.
And now I'm just reading a German book called Die karierten Mädchen, and it's a novel.
Okay. Great. We'll get links to both of those out. Okay. What's your final takeaway for the audience, Kirsten? What would you like the audience to take away from this episode about using AI for language learning, which is the kind of
I
topic we're talking about?
would recommend, so this is interesting because I think your audience, obviously professional linguists, tend to mm, like you don't look when okay, so a lot sorry, you're gonna have to edit this out. This is very um a lot of the kind of people I've traditionally worked with, like language learners, English native speakers learning another language, most of them don't do it for professional reasons. Mostly it's kind of the joy and the passion, and there is a real sense of accomplishment and joy and personal development. Once you start professionally working with language, you're surrounded by people who, speak three, four languages. This becomes normal.
Mhm.
You understand, like you're not a genius because of this.
Yes.
And sometimes people lose a little bit of the joy and the playfulness and that memory of why you're in this business in the first place. And it's not because you're going to get rich. Because I always say if I'd wanted to get rich, I'd have gone into banking or whatever. I'm not in banking. And part of that is because I love what I do. I love languages as well.
Mm.
And I think you do too, if you're a professional interpreter, translator, if you're working that closely with languages.
Yes.
And something that I really appreciate for our professional members of AI Language Club and want to give them is to bring a little bit of the joy and the playfulness back, right? So that you're not
Mm.
just thinking, how is this the most efficient and best, da 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 da, but you just get that little spark because that's what's going to keep you going in a year.
Yes.
And that
Absolutely.
will translate into your L3 or L5 or whatever.
Mm.
But if you bring that along with you, trust me, because you had it when you were doing your L2, L3, it, it's just going to make you better.
I love that. Yeah, I love that, Kirsten. Kirsten, where can my listeners connect with you, our listeners, connect with you or learn
Hmm.
more about your work and expertise? What's the website? What's the LinkedIn? What's the best place to connect with you?
Yes. So okay, I'm going. 3 websites that I'm going to say. I'm so embarrassed, but it's just okay. So KirstinCable.com is my professional website where I talk about all things business and sort of shortcuts and ways to make your professional life a little bit easier with some tech, especially if you have online business. And fluentlanguage.co.uk is where I talk in very nerdy ways about language learning. My latest article is actually about all the weaknesses of Duolingo, the way I see them. And ailanguageclub.com is the AI Language Club website. And I would love for people to come, and we've got a quiz there. I would love for people to come and take the quiz to find out your language learning superpower. It's 5 questions, just a little bit of fun.
I would love people to go to ailanguageclub.com as well. So we'll get links to all 3 websites and the last one. All right, let's wrap it up for today's episode of Freelancer Training on how to find more direct clients. Stay tuned for more engaging discussions on the ever-evolving landscape of language and digital marketing. Until next time, remember what I always say, stay on your game and future-proof your career in the AI era. Thank you very much to my special guest, Kerstin Cable, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Here's a fun fact about Jason. Jason loves reading John Grisham thrillers in his spare time. Thanks for tuning in to the How to Find More Direct Clients Than You Can Poke a Stick At podcast. We'll be back soon. In the meantime, why not head over to www.entrepreneurialtranslator.com to access all our tools and resources to monetize and future-proof your freelance translation business. And don't forget to hit the plus button in Apple Podcasts or iTunes, or subscribe in Spotify to be notified when new episodes drop. For regular tips and insights, business strategy, or marketing techniques straight to your inbox, please sign up at www.entrepreneurialtranslator.com.